all from my own. Oh, save your soul.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the B&E podcast. I'm Bryce Gelman, and as always, I am joined by Evan Kamiko. Evan, today's a great day.
Today's a great day for a lot of reasons. Let's just start off with that. I think you want to talk about the first reason why today's a great day, and I think I have my reasons why today's an even better day later. But we'll start with you. Bryce, take it away.
Yeah, so our listeners and viewers know, at least I hope you guys know that we're an opinion podcast. We're not as much sports. I mean, we are sports. Yes, that's obviously our strong suit. We talk about sports. We don't really discuss pop culture and that kind of stuff, even though we committed to doing that when we started this podcast. But another thing we are knowledgeable about, both of us, is politics. And again, just a disclaimer, we're an opinionated, group of people. Just the two of us, all of our friends, we're very opinionated when it comes to this kind of stuff. And we're not just a sports podcast. So I'd like to start out by saying congratulations to Joe Biden for becoming president-elect of the United States. This is a long time coming for a lot of people. There was for years, and like I said, if you disagree with me, I also just wanted to say that it's now time for our country to come together. It is time for everyone to put aside their differences. This is one of the most divided times we've had. I think historically, this is the most divided time we've had since before the Civil War. It's come to the point where considering the election results, if you walk in the street, odds are the person that is walking in front of you and the person walking next to you is someone who voted for the other candidate. So the fact of the matter is there's a huge division in our country. There's a crazy amount of people getting coronavirus every day. So there's a huge health crisis right now. And there's also, a huge race problem in this country. So Joe Biden is taking this presidency with three major crises going on. And the fact, again, like I said, we don't have to agree on a lot of stuff, but we can agree that it's time for our country to come together, and it's time for our country to address these problems because they will continue to grow and they will continue to become bigger than something that we can actually solve. And that's besides the fact, we have climate change. We have an economy that is completely destroyed and is in shambles. And to make matters worse, we have, again, even in government too, people don't like it. These people aren't getting along. These people have huge problems with each other in party lines. The fact that the Republicans obviously, appointed Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court 11 days before a general election where a new president could have been crowned, which he actually was. And it was a completely partisan vote. It was along party lines. People need to start coming together and they need to start governing for all of Americans. The president-elect, Joe Biden, has told the media and the people of the United States repeatedly that he will govern as an American president. He ran for the Democratic Party. He's a Democratic president, but he will govern for all people. And that is unlike someone else that we know who is the president right now, who is obviously not governed for everyone because he doesn't care about anyone else besides himself. And he only cares about himself and his own best interests. And the only people he'll tolerate are people that like him. He doesn't like these people. He just tolerates them and he appeals to them, and he obviously gets them riled up. Props to him. He got his base, to turn out in record numbers. He's the most votes for any presidential candidate, obviously second to Joe Biden, but ever. He's the second most votes in presidential candidate history compared to Joe Biden, obviously. But so he is able to energize his supporters, unlike any other Republican candidate we've ever seen in a while. So he obviously has a lot of control over his base. He doesn't care about his base, like we've said, but he now holds the power to allow the peaceful transition of power because this election's over. No matter what any Trump supporter wants to say, there's going to be illegal challenges. Those will be turned down. I guarantee you. I've been watching all these news channels, and even Fox News called it for Joe Biden. They don't think that there's a path to re-election for President Trump at this point. There aren't that many legal challenges that they can mount, but we'll see. And at the end of the day, Joe Biden's going to be the next president, no matter how you look at it.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. You know, watching everything with the past couple of days play out, people, voted in record amounts. I believe Biden has about 74 million votes, something along those lines. I'm just rounding up. Hillary Clinton only got about 62 million votes, something 62, 63.
She
So
got
you can see already
she got 65.
got
Yeah,
about 65. I was a little bit off. But you can see
still a
how
lot
the
more.
voter numbers turned out. People turned out. Everyone knew this election was a big deal. We voted. Everyone at home, we hope you voted. And, the bigger thing is for New Jersey, they passed, weed, which is another huge thing, which we're both very happy about.
What's weed?
It's a good question.
I don't know. I have to look into it.
Uh, uh, but yeah, so a lot of good things for this country moving forward. Hopefully, in a unity that's gonna happen from Joe Biden. But we'll see what happens. We'll see if there's a peaceful, transition of power. Hopefully, there will be. Hopefully, Donald Trump says, you know what, you're right, I lost, which he did. He lost in a record number loss for voter turnout, but not record number loss as of
I mean, technically it was. You remember in 2016 what all of the Trump supporters were saying, that this was a landslide, or that it was a landslide at the time. And
This
odds
is a
are
bigger
right
landslide.
now that Joe Biden will end up with almost this exact same amount of electoral votes as Trump did in 2016.
I believe he got 316. Like
306.
306.
He got 306. And if Biden holds on to Arizona, he holds on to Nevada, and he'll obviously will hold on to Georgia and Pennsylvania, then he will have 306 electoral votes, which a lot of Trump supporters and a lot of Trump, sympathizers back in 2016 said was a complete landslide. Trump even said it in a press conference that was one of the biggest electoral college victories of all time, which obviously we know to be complete cap. But if he said it, it must be true then.
Like many things he said, including the fact that he said, I won this election. I believe that was on Tuesday. He came out and said, I won this election. Here we are Saturday. Mr. President, you did not win this election. So,
he did win the election if you take away all the votes that weren't counted for him, which I think he's probably trying to do in the courts.
But he's trying to take everything against him.
Oh, of course. And his mindset and his whole aura of things, we've known this, we've come to know him over the years, is that he does not take defeat well. He does not take the word no well. He doesn't take the fact that people don't like him well. He's a complete egomaniac. He is only concerned about himself, like I've already said. But, at this point, someone needs to get in his ear and tell him, Mr. President, you lost. You need to get out of the White House when it comes to, obviously on January 20th, when Biden is inaugurated, whether he likes it or not, whether Trump likes it or not, he's going to have to sit there and give him basically the keys to the White House. And
it's so funny too when you see people of the Republican Party have, even Fox News and, different people in the White House close to Trump saying, you lost. Like, there's no way you're winning, it's over. And Trump's like, it's not over. Yeah, you can have a recount, but the recounts, maybe it'll swing a couple hundred votes, but nothing,
not
thousands that he needs to actually swing it. And at the end of the day, the lawsuits that he's going to file, he won't win. What? Because they're faulty elections? No, you let people vote. Utah, for example, and New Mexico, both red states, they did mail-in ballots.
Democratic state, definitely.
Oh, sorry, New Mexico's Democratic, but a state like Utah, who is more of a Republican state, has been doing these, mail-in voting for a long time. So you get to see that these are, it works. You can't say anything bad against it because it's been working, and no one questioned mail-in ballots in 2016. Why is it such a big deal this year? That's what I don't understand. But that's, it's the biggest thing for Trump is that he's going to lose.
Yes. But also, the electoral process this year was obviously extremely strained because of the fact that over 90 million people voted by mail. So this is the highest amount of people in a presidential election, any election, that had voted by mail, because generally, the electoral system and the way we've counted votes in this country since 1992 has not even before that, probably the 80s. When Reagan won, there's probably way more votes being counted by voting machines, because before this, everyone just went out and voted on election day. But understandably, there's a pandemic going on. President-elect Biden kept telling supporters, we need to make sure that we vote early. We need to make sure that, if you want to be safe, you could be safe. You could send in a ballot without having to go to, a polling location. So, and to add on to that, President Trump also told his supporters that it would be fraudulent if people voted by mail. And he set the stage repeatedly for a contested result. So he set the stage. He probably knew he was going to lose. He probably knew he was going to lose deep down, but by telling his supporters and also telling the Republican-controlled legislatures in these states that weren't allowing these early votes to be counted earlier, it allowed for him to be up at the end of election night. He was up in all these states that he's losing in right now. So he said he came out, big win all around, like big win. Congratulations to Republicans. Exactly. That was a result of him telling supporters to not vote by mail, because statistically, these states counted those mail ballots first. A state that they didn't count the mail ballots first, or a state that they did actually, was Ohio. And at the end of election night, Biden was up by a lot in Ohio. So Trump didn't complain about that. He wanted to continue the voting there, but in the states where he was up, he wanted to stop it. It's completely hypocritical. It's anti-democratic. And President Trump needs to come to the conclusion that he has lost this election and needs to leave the White House, because this is not American. This is a very un-American process. Right now, what Donald Trump is doing, he completely has the legal right to contest the results of this election. Yes, obviously, you could take it to court if you really want, if you see fraud going on. But the fact of the matter is, Georgia's a state that has a Republican-controlled legislature. They have a Republican governor and they have a Republican secretary of state. These are the people who control the elections. They've repeatedly said, I've heard the Georgia secretary of state on TV repeatedly say over and over again, this is a process that has been checked and checked and checked and rechecked to the point where there's no fraud going on. This has been a process that has been checked by people of both parties, and the Republicans want to say that there weren't enough people in the voting locations. Yes, there were. There were people in there. They just didn't want to let the people,
people are trying to make an excuse.
Yeah.
Bottom line is people are trying to find the excuse as to why Trump, should still stay in office when it is clear he lost. When your party is controlling the state and controls what happens in votings, and you still can't accept defeat, and you're saying, oh, it's fraud. What are your own people frauding you? Like, you think the Republican, governor or whatever wants, Biden to win? No, he wants you to win. You're in his party. They want the people of the party to win. But even when people in your party, your party are saying you're not going to win, you're still like, no, it's not
exactly.
Right. They're just more inept to turn on you. It's just a worse look. And I think it's hysterical. But, at the end of the day, that's how Donald Trump works.
Yeah.
Everything has to go his way.
Yeah. And I think the ultimate argument to be made for Republicans and Trump supporters who think that this election was rigged in the Democrats' favor, if the Democrats rigged it, why didn't they rig the Senate? Why would the Democrats in their right minds not rig the Senate? Because having a majority leader, Mitch McConnell, again in the Senate is a huge obstacle to pass whenever they want change. So there's obviously, a way around that. Talking about the Senate quickly before we move on, because there's two special elections in the state of Georgia, which just went for Joe Biden. So these two Senate elections will actually, decide control of the Senate. So if the two Democrats win, it's 50-50 in the Senate, and then Vice President Kamala Harris will be the one to, break the ties. So we get rid of majority, Mitch McConnell, who I think is one of the worst people in the world. I think he's as much as Trump has, contributed to the amount of division we have in this country, I think Mitch McConnell's second to only him. Mitch McConnell has allowed the Senate to, a democratic process. This is a legislative branch that's supposed to work together, that's supposed to make compromises, and he's created one of the most divisive Senates we've seen in years. He's passing these judges only on votes of 51, 52, just of his party. His party's only voting for these people. He's appointed over 200 judges, President Trump, that Mitch McConnell has allowed through. So there's people that are way more important. Like, yes, this election is extremely important. You get the executive branch rid of all these terrible people, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. These people have not been good for our country. It's been completely chaotic with these people and these billionaires and these multi-millionaires in control of cabinet positions. I think it's been awful. Louis DeJoy, fuck you, by the way. The head of the USPS, who's a billionaire who donated to Trump, becomes the head of the USPS, completely almost screws this election by having extremely slow mail-in times. Like, this guy, we saw this coming for months ahead. Get these people out of the executive branch, and let's focus on bringing people together, and let's focus on rebuilding this country, because we are in a terrible spot right now. This is one of the worst times probably in American history, especially with morale, especially with the economy. and people losing their jobs. This is a terrible time for Americans, and we need to change it. And I'm glad that, President-elect Joe Biden will go in there and work with people from both sides. Listen, there's obviously issues that we need to address. There's obviously issues that the very left side of the Democratic Party will be pissed off about. But at the end of the day, they're going to have to give in. They have to give in, at least until 2022, because this is a time to prove the American people, like I've been saying, that this needs to be a time of unity. Okay, so people need to come together. They need to unite. I want to be friends with Trump. You know what I mean? Like This has been a time where a lot of people, you see it on Instagram, I don't need to be friends with Trump supporters. Like I don't need to be friends with Biden supporters. People from both sides saying this. I want to be able to be friends with people with disagreements with me. I don't want to have to disagree with, or I don't have to agree with every single person I'm friends with. Like I don't like that. And I think deep down, a lot of Republican Trump supporters who have a lot of hate in their hearts right now because they just lost. Listen, I felt the same way in 2016, but I do feel those people at deep down, they don't want to be looked at. You know what I mean? In blue states, in New Jersey, they probably are seen as outcasts just because of how blue it is. And I think that's unfair. I think that every person should be looked at the same, no matter what you think politically, because there's good people out there. These Trump supporters, they've been influenced, yes, by the wrong person. Trump is someone he riles people up like crazy. He gets people angry. He gets people upset. And I think that hopefully, and I'm praying that once Trump leaves, he's going to start his Trump News Network. He's going to bring Sean Hannity. He's going to bring Laura Ingraham. He's going to bring Tucker Carlson with him. But hopefully, once he is gone from the presidency, he won't have as large of an effect on that side of the population. I want to be friends with the people that I disagree with. I want to be, I want to be able to have conversations with these people. And I guarantee you would agree with that sentiment too.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who you vote for, what, political party you're aligned. As long as I can get along with you, we don't have issues, I don't care. Bottom line, that's how it should be, in my opinion. And I think that's how a lot of people want it to be. And unfortunately, it's not. But moving forward, hopefully we get there. Like you said, there's a lot of problems in America. There's systematic racism. But that stuff isn't going to go away after one night, after, Biden's first night. That's going to generate at least a generation to fix. Because that's not a problem where you can go into schools and say, okay, like every school in one night and everyone wakes up the next morning and they're like, oh yeah, like equality and stuff is going to happen. It doesn't happen overnight. And that's the sad reality, is that equality isn't going to happen overnight. It's going to take time, but we have to be patient and we have to trust in Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, because that's who the American people elected to lead us forward into the 2020s and beyond.
Yeah.
And the change that we have to make.
And building off what you just said, with President Trump and not even President Trump, just systemic racism, the amount of hate that the president has instilled in his base for people of color,
it's ridiculous.
It's
absurd.
Or it's not even that. It's that he's enabled these people. He's enabled them to come basically. You know what I mean? Because when Obama was president, I'm sure all these racists, in the closet were like, nah, like we can't say anything, like it's scary. But President Trump gave them a platform. He gave them the ability to say whatever they want, to be Trump's my president. I don't know, you know what I mean? So the amount of hate that he has given his base and the people that support him is like, yes, like that's going to take years to get rid of. It's going to take a generation to get rid of that amount of hate that he has built in one half of the country. Like, people who voted Trump, I'm not saying you're racist, but you obviously didn't think that racism was a deal breaker, because we've seen over and over again that President Trump has belittled minorities, has called African countries shithole countries. The amount of stuff that he said about, minorities and other, Mexico is bringing their rapists and their criminals. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's been said that just people forget about, because the amount of other stuff he does and the amount of other stuff he says. The past 4 years have been Trump supporters basically hearing something that they don't agree with from President Trump and trying to find a reason to, basically explain to people why he wasn't doing exactly that. Like when Trump says, oh, they're bringing the racists, they had to come up with an excuse. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, if you're having a conversation with them, they had to come up with like, oh no, he didn't mean that. He's good for Israel though. Like it's insane to me. It's crazy that they had to somehow, explain themselves for their president. So at the end of the day, this is going to take a long time. This is not going to be accomplished over the next 2 years. It will be something that needs to be addressed slowly over the next 10 to 15 years. And eventually we can get to a point where there's not as much hate in our world. There's not as much hate in the United States. We are all Americans. And that's the last thing we'll say about politics. Everyone could agree. We're all Americans. We all want our country to do the best. And no one right now can tell me that over the past 4 years, our country's been doing great. Nothing.
Yeah. And
So-
and the final thing I want to say is just because at, home, if like a lot of like what we would call like Instagram white girls would like post on their stories and stuff and say, oh, racism's going to be over just because Joe Biden's elected.
No.
It's not. That's the unfortunate reality.
We got to keep fighting.
Joe Biden is a huge step forward towards equality. That is the whole point of that. But it's not going to be over tomorrow. We have to keep fighting. You're absolutely correct. So, when I see people posting, it's like, yeah, you're posting, this is a good thing, but it's only step one. And, 150 steps that we have to take forward. It's only step one.
Yep. And, we have, the rest of our lives. We're pretty young kids. We have the rest of our lives to look forward to this. And older people who, have come out and supported Trump with, listen, I'm just going to say there's definitely some people out there, that older people, because originally the reason why Biden was projected to win by so much is because he had the seniors vote. But we found out that wasn't the case. The seniors, people over 65, did not vote for Biden in the, amount that he needed to be, to have a decisive victory. So there's obviously people out there that were voting for Trump, but you had Trump was such a short-term fix problem. You know what I mean? He wasn't looking 10, 15 years down the road. And we need to get away from that. We need to get to a point where we're looking 30, 40, 50 years down the road, because those years will mean just as much as the years that are happening now. And
Absolutely.
Those years will need to be rid of climate change. They'll need to, rid of systemic racism, be rid of an economy that's extremely unequal for every single person. Mm-hmm. So, we have years to solve these problems, but the first step to solving these problems was getting Trump out of the White House. And we did that.
And now the next step
today
is a good day. And the next step is figuring out the COVID crisis. And on the topic of COVID, something that's really hit home for both of us. Bryce and I both in the last 10 days have tested positive for COVID. We are both doing fine.
To be fair, I have not tested positive.
You didn't test positive?
No, but
you just have symptoms.
One of my roommates. Well, no, one of my roommates tested positive, and we went straight to the Sheraton, where I've been here for the last 10 days. I get out in 2.5 days, but we got here. And I basically, to be fair, I decided to get tested the day after I got here because I knew I was going to come back negative. If I think I did have it, because it would be very unlikely. I was in the same room as this kid for an hour on Tuesday night, and he got it supposedly last Monday. So I never tested positive. Neither did the two other my roommates, but the one did test positive. So I don't know. It's weird, but you certainly must have, felt bad for a couple of days.
So I tested positive. I wake up on Sunday, whatever. I'm like starting to feel sick. I got a flu shot Saturday. Was out partying Thursday, Friday, because it's college. Right. It's what you're supposed to do. It's Halloween. It's a big weekend. I hate Halloween, but that's besides the point. I mean, I guess this just makes me hate Halloween even more that I got COVID on Halloween. Yeah.
I mean, I was in the Sheraton on
Halloween. No good reasons why I should still like Halloween. And so whatever, like I start feeling bad. Tuesday, I wake up, I have a fever. Wednesday, I have a fever again. I go get tested Wednesday afternoon with one of my friends. We drive, and here's the whole story. It's one of the funniest things. So we're sitting in the car. We get the rapid test. 20 minutes later, she comes back out, and she goes to us, "How are you guys doing?" I go, "I don't know. Like depends on what the results you're going to tell me." And my friend goes, "How are you doing?" And she goes, "Well, I'm doing a lot better than the two of you are." And immediately we start to lose it. We like don't realize what's actually like we didn't process it, but like we knew because we were just laughing and I was like, "So you're telling me I tested positive?" And she's like, "Well, you both tested positive." And like we're sitting in the car, we're thinking, "Oh, we only have the flu. We got the flu shot. The flu shot gave us the flu." Meanwhile, she's going, "Nah, you have COVID." And we're like, "Oh, you've got to be kidding." So we start our isolation. This is day 3 in isolation. I think we have 7 days left. And it's just this whole thing where we're laughing in the car and she's standing there and like, I'm calling my mom. I'm like, "Mom, I have COVID. And my mom's like, "Oh, you've got to be kidding." And we're just in the car laughing and just trying to not enjoy it because it's nothing scary. It's no laughing matter. But like, we're lucky. Like we're a generation where you could hear it in the car, where it's not going to have the biggest effect on us. We're very healthy people.
Very lucky, yes.
Great immune systems have that. We are very lucky, luckily we're going to get over it pretty fast. I should have been feeling much better the last couple of days, which is why we're able to do it today. If this was Thursday, I think I'd be, literally laying in my bed, like curled up in a ball being like, "Oh my God, like I'm shaking, I'm cold, this is horrible, mom, and like can't do anything. But yeah, so that's the story that I got COVID. And it's honestly a funny story about like hearing the results. Nothing about COVID is funny. I want to reiterate that, like, we don't want to be joking about this, but like the story is funny because, we're fine. Nothing bad is happening. Everyone else who's been with me is in self-isolation and stuff, which is a really good thing. Yeah. So we're taking it serious, even though the story is funny, take it serious. COVID is not a laughing matter. It's rough to have, like, I've been coughing the last couple of days. It's like an intense flu. So like, like you get immune, obviously like life moves on. We keep going forward, but at the end of the day, it's still very serious. Stay home, or like, don't stay home, but like, just be smart. Best advice to people who don't have it yet. Just be smart. Like if you're going to be in a crowd of a lot of people at a party, just be smart. Maybe not be there for that long.
Yeah. Don't even go. Like, yeah.
This is a
serious health issue.
This is a serious health issue. This is just my experience, which is more on the lighter side of the experiences, but there are people who have lost a lot of family members. And again, it is very serious. So just want to share my experience with it so far and how kind of taking it in stride, because that's all you really can do right now is, I'm stuck in my apartment room. Well, Indiana upsets Michigan. Everyone's over storming the stadium, storming Kirkwood, and I'm sitting in my room.
And you're having fun.
Jesus Christ, I wish I was there. My mom texts me. My mom goes, literally, like, this is 2 hours ago. She goes, hang on, I'll literally read it. She goes to me, she goes, bummer you're not at the stadium. I go, no fucking shit. Just straight up after IU wins, bummer you're not at the stadium. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
Why do you care about me?
Mom really cares. Yeah.
Mom cares a lot.
If anyone was wondering where we've went the past 1.5 to 2 weeks, there's your answer. You're going to have to watch 30 minutes in to figure that out, but there you go. So we have not been able to do this because we both been, I was achy for like 2 days. Like I didn't think it was COVID, but like at the minimum it could have been. I do think I still had it. I think I was luckily asymptomatic. Mm-hmm. It would be very unlikely if I didn't get it, considering the fact that, my roommate was directly exposed.
For the close call. Yeah.
My roommate was directly exposed Tuesday night to a kid who was contagious for a couple of days now at that point. So my roommate probably had it or got it. I probably got it from him or whatever, but it is what it is. COVID is a huge issue. We're not trying to obviously, make fun of the issue at all, but like we're very lucky. And
yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of people. There's almost 250,000 Americans right now who aren't as lucky. So be safe, guys. Make sure you go out there and take the proper precautions. Always wear a mask. Trust me, always wear a mask unless, you're at your frat house or wherever you are, like, and you trust the kids that you're around. But if you're in a place where you don't know who
even if you're there, wear a mask. Just be smart. Yeah. That's really all. That's the best advice. Be smart, wear a mask. Universal mask mandate's probably going to become a thing in a couple of months, which is going to be a very good thing. And I think that's going to, help this a lot. The fact that, people are now going to have to wear masks when they go out in public. Otherwise it's going to be a fine or something. Wait, and I get it. The people.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep going.
People are going to be like, oh, my body, my choice. Yeah. Your body, your choice. If you want to die from this, sure. Go ahead. Don't wear a mask. I mean, be my
130,000 people in a day is, pretty wild.
Definitely after having
a lot of people.
Definitely after having it, I will be wearing a mask a little bit more often. Even though I do, I'd like to think I'm relatively smart with it. Anytime I leave my apartment, I'm in a mask. If I'm in a restaurant, it's a mask, the whole 9 yards. But just be smart. Everyone at home, it's not fun. You don't want to be stuck inside for 10 days, but 10 days is a short amount of time, and you can avoid it if you wear a mask. So let's move out of, and let's get right into our main subjects or our main focus of the podcast, sports. Let's talk about the NBA is returning next month, December 22nd. Bryce, I'll let you take the floor on this one as you're the NBA guy.
Well, yes, Evan, speaking of being smart, the NBA finally decided to do something, smart. Yeah. So the NBA is going to be starting up for, the 2020-2021 season on December 22nd. It will be a 72 game season, probably crunched together a little bit more because you have 82 game seasons starting in any normal year in mid-October. So this season will probably end early July, mid-July, unless they clump everything together.
I think.
My bad. As a fan of a team who did make the bubble, there is not going to have been basketball played for 9 months for the teams who did not make the bubble. So I'm a Knicks fan, and my team has not played, which is a blessing in disguise. I'm very happy to not have to be upset about them every time. Yes, no suffering yet. Not with this new 72 game season. The Knicks will probably lose 68. No, I'm only kidding. But
55.
Let's also discuss the fact. Let's also discuss the fact that free agency will be starting up as soon as maybe next week. The draft coming up. Wait. Okay, we have the draft. We have free agency.
We're gonna have a really, really big NBA show next week, is what we're kind of gonna allude to right now.
Yeah. So obviously, there's a lot of stuff going on in the NBA world. The draft, obviously, again, like I said, free agency, and then quickly training camp. You have 3 things that happen in a span of 3 to 4 months in the offseason happening in a month and a half. Obviously, the season just ended. The Lakers, the Lakers are probably pissed. Like, I know LeBron was like the one driving force behind everything. That's probably why a lot of people voted against it. And that was the main support, because LeBron holds a lot of power in the NBA and the NBA Players Association. So yes, the NBA made a right decision. Adam Silver gets it right again. This guy is always doing the right thing. And every time I think about Adam Silver, it reminds me just how much I hate Rob Manfred.
Man, I was going to say the same thing.
I hate him so much. It's been a while since, we talked about the World Series. We got all of our predictions wrong. Obviously, both of us picked the Rays. He picked Brandon Lau. I picked Charlie Morton. Both did terrible.
Whoa, Lau was the MVP.
Brandon Lau had 3 hits.
He had 3 home
hits
runs.
in the But and 3 hits. It was Aaron Judge, dude. It was what Aaron Judge did in the playoffs, and he did nothing. I'm just saying, like contributing
fair.
6 RBIs, and when you did nothing in the entire postseason.
Okay, let's be real. The Dodgers absolutely deserve, but let's get back on track quick.
I want to talk about that, but let's talk about it at the end, because we need to talk about it. We haven't talked about it yet, but so a lot of obviously great things coming for the NBA. Adam Silver, best commissioner in all of sports. I don't think it's close. So, a lot of things to look forward to as a sports fan. You still have football going on, and we'll talk about football in a couple seconds, but you just have football. Like, it's one thing to focus on. Usually when, by the time football's, kind of winding down, week 10, week 11, week 12, at least the regular season, by that, by those means, the NBA is starting up, NHL is starting up. You get the end of the MLB postseason, which we just got, but now we have football for the next month and a half. So listen, it's one thing to focus on.
Back to the normal schedule.
Yeah. There's one thing to focus on. Yeah. There's at least we have one sport going on. For 4 months. We had nothing. Yeah. So listen, obviously all sports fans are grateful for what we have. I'm excited. And then I'll be excited for, the Knicks to lose 65 games. So,
Billy Donovan to the Bulls playoff team. We're going to make the play-in tournament. I think that's another really cool thing that we'll talk about next week. Next week, we'll do a big basketball show, and we'll kind of leave off everything, because this week we really want to focus on the politics and the COVID and, just other stuff that we wouldn't normally talk about on a
more important
podcast.
Stuff.
Yeah. The bigger picture we wanted to talk about this week. So, moving away from NBA, we'll have a huge show for that next week. This week, we'll talk mainly, right now, we'll talk some football. Indiana just beat Michigan, huge upset, or not even an upset. Like, people were storming the field. People were storming Memorial Field, literally right outside my window. I have to say, I didn't feel it was, Indiana has not beat Michigan since 1987 or 1988, somewhere around there. Yeah. 33 years. I know, 87 actually. And, it was an expected win for me. I went into today expecting to beat Michigan. I knew we were the better team. Milton, the Michigan quarterback, the whole Michigan team is very young. They don't have a lot of experience. Their, secondary is terribly hurt. So Indiana obviously took advantage of the secondary. We absolutely destroyed them. I was very happy with the game today. Big game against MSU next week. If we win that, we're undefeated heading into Ohio State. That's going to be a huge game, because the winner of that is going to be in the Big Ten championship game. Playing whoever.
How many games are being played in a Big Ten season?
8.
What?
8 games are being played.
That makes sense, because they need to finish by the time that all the other teams would have finished.
Season's gonna end. Indiana's last game, the last week of the Big Ten season, is the December 12th weekend. Indiana plays Purdue, the rivalry game. That's what they're doing, rivalry weekend this year. So that's when Michigan and Ohio State play each other. Wisconsin and Minnesota, Indiana, Purdue. Rutgers and whoever they claim that they're fucking and they claim whoever their rivalry is.
Do not put any disrespect on the Rutgers name. Greg Schiano will take them to the promised land within the next
this year.
5
I'm
years.
still going to put them on.
Okay, but like they don't need the disrespect.
I absolutely agree. I think watching the
struggling
Rutgers
for years.
Indiana game last week looked like a completely new Rutgers team. I was actually really impressed with them. I thought they did a great job because I think they're a good budding young program. People forget Rutgers were one of the best programs in the country in the early 2000s. Under Greg Schiano.
Schiano is a New Jersey legend.
Yes, absolutely.
Jersey legend.
He's back. He's gonna bring Rutgers back, and I think Rutgers is gonna be a team to look out for in 3 to 4 years in the Big Ten. And I think they can actually compete where a team like Penn State is now gonna start to fall off.
Yeah. No, they won't. They'll never start to fall. Come on. Penn State's been a huge program for the past 60 years since like Joe Paterno. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so
yeah, they've had
always,
their years where they've had their like 3-4 years where they were down. When Joe Paterno left, they were down for 5-6 years.
Okay, but their down years are like still kind of better than
their down years are like
Indiana's
middle of the pack Big Ten.
Your good years are like
the last like 10-15 years are like their bad years. So yeah, I give you that. But like Indiana is finally a football school, and I'm very happy to say that.
We'll see.
All right, so let's get into some NFL. Any big storylines heading into tomorrow?
The Giants almost won again last week, which is, becoming almost a weekly occurrence when they don't lose by 20 or 30. We saw a guy in Daniel Jones who turns the ball over way too much. He is 30. I think it's like 32 turnovers in like 30 games, or it's like 2 turnovers more than however many games he's played. He turns the ball. He's almost a lock every game to turn the ball over. He throws a pick almost every game. He's throwing a pick in, I think, every single game this season. Yeah. I think he was minus 190. He was in minus 190 to throw a pick this week. And of course he threw it in the second quarter. So Daniel Jones is someone that has the highest highs, but the lowest of lows. It's incredible how inconsistent he is and how much he turns the ball over. He just can't keep it in his hands. So he has a long way to go. I do not think he's the future of the Giants. I think he was a terrible draft pick. I think Dave Gettleman also has to leave. I think if they don't fire Gettleman, if Mara and Tisch don't fire Gettleman, you're looking at a very incompetent organization, because you have to know when a guy needs to leave. When a guy has tried to put in a strategic plan for years, we have a plan, guys. Don't worry. We're not going to draft any offensive lineman until Andrew Thomas. And you don't start him 2 weeks ago. Like you wait that long. You waste so many picks. You waste so many picks on, obviously you had to take Saquon Barkley. I kind of disagree with it at the time because, you could have gotten Sam Darnold, but Darnold is not good. So it doesn't matter because it was either him or Darnold. So you take Barkley, and that was, again, like you take Daniel Jones, number 6, like you easily could have gotten him late first, early second, and you waste a draft pick that high.
He would have been there 17 or 24.
Yes. It does not make any sense. But also if you look at that draft and you look at, like, there weren't any other teams that were that into him as much as we obviously were, because we drafted him with our first pick in the first round. Yeah. So he's not the future for our franchise. He needs to either figure it out, learn how to throw the fucking ball away, or he needs to go. It's either one of those options. You need to learn how to be a quarterback in this league. You need to learn how to move the ball down the field. He's fast. He can use his legs more than he can, and he needs to learn how to slide because he fumbles all the time. So you need to learn how to move the ball down the field. You need to learn how to
play in the NFL.
Yes,
that's simple.
You need to put together a last-minute drive. Like he's had chances at least 4 times this year to win at the end of games, and he has not come up. I obviously against the Eagles, he earlier in the season against the Bears, and then now against the Buccaneers last week. So they're close. And I think Joe Judge is a great coach, by the way. I think our record, it does not reflect what he's doing with this team.
I agree.
He is a football guy. He knows what he's doing. If you watch their practices, I don't watch the practice, but if you watch what happens in the practices, they're very well-oiled machine. They're, you know what I mean? Like it's a team that has got.
Joe Judge is the right guy for the job. Yes. But Dave Gettleman doesn't know how to give Joe Judge the right pieces for the job to get the job done.
It was a good hire. It was a great hire from Gettleman. I'll give him that. But other than that, he has not done well with this job. He hired Pat Shurmur. Pat Shurmur was terrible. So yes, he's 1 for 2 on hiring good coaches. So, and 0 for 80 in drafting good players.
Probably
Besides
about
Barkley.
it for around the league. I don't think there's a ton of big news this week. Tua won last week. That's big, but he only threw for 93 yards. The defense absolutely carried them over the Rams. Christian McCaffrey's back this week, so fantasy owners, thank God. I'm very happy because I have to put
Yeah, it
McCaffrey
only took
in
to
on my
what,
team.
week 9?
Only took to week 9 from week 3. I think he went out in week 3, so he was out for the last 6 weeks. The last thing that we're gonna discuss next week, biggest golf tournament of the year starts up on.
I was gonna say because we
Thursday.
didn't have it on the rundown,
We
and I
didn't
thought
have
of
it on the
middle of
rundown.
thing, and I was like, okay, like we're talking about it. I will bring it up either way. So
And so I wanted to bring it up as the last topic we talk about. The Masters. Bryce, I'll let you go all in. Who do you got and why? Let's do it quick.
DeChambeau, it's not even close. If he's hitting the ball long, like there's no rough at Augusta. There's no rough. If we saw what he was able to do with the thickest of all thick roughs at the U.S. Open at Winged Foot, what is he going to do at Augusta? When you have,
I'm scared. I'm scared
thinking
to
about
see
it right
how
now.
good he's going to do.
He's gonna have 100 yards onto the 13th green. The dogleg left, the par 5 after obviously 12. Like, yes, you need a lot of precision, but he's one of also the best wedge players and one of the best putters on tour right now. He is by far the biggest favorite to win this tournament because of what he's done in the past. Like, he's competing in every tournament. This is I can't compare it to Tiger because Tiger's completely different. But what are you gonna say if he wins another major? If he wins 2 out of 3 majors this year, what are you gonna say?
World
There's
number
nothing
1.
to say. And he was also top 5 in the PGA Championship. He's completely redefined his body, and he's made sure that he competes in every single tournament because he hits the ball that much farther than everyone else. And the 200 ball speed, you can't compete with that.
And the interesting thing is there's no other golfer that can change their body like that. That's the interesting thing about golf. You think other golfers can change their body that drastically?
Will happen. I was going to say that. that he's set a precedent that you don't need to be like the prototypical guy who's just practicing all the time. You could become a bulked up, motherfucker. Like Brooks Koepka was. I think Brooks Koepka was the one who kind of started this. He was huge, and then he bulked down. He lost 20 pounds, lost a lot of distance, and then didn't win anything else, and then had knee problems. Like, I'm not saying that being bulked up has anything to do with injuries, but Bryson DeChambeau has completely paved the way for other players to do exactly what he has. So I do think that if Tony Finau bulks up, he's going to be hitting.
Finau also only hits
70.
He only does half a swing.
I know.
Crazy.
Have you ever seen a video of him taking a full swing and the ball speed is 200? It's when you're sick. What is he 6'4", 6'5"? He's got
Something
that much power at his lower body. Tony Finau is another guy to watch out for. He doesn't win. He doesn't win. He's a top 10. I guarantee you, Tony Finau. He was in a group with Tiger and Molinari last year. He had a lot of pressure on him. I can't believe the Masters last year was a year and a half ago. Thinking about how long ago the last Masters was is pretty crazy. It was a long time ago. So, I think that he's also
finally back.
Yeah, it finally is. And I'm extremely excited. All these promo videos they're releasing are some of the most exciting videos I've seen. So
absolutely.
I think every golf fan is obviously extremely excited to have the next 2 majors be the Masters.
And the nice thing is I still finish out my quarantine Thursday, Friday, all day sitting on my couch watching the Masters.
Good for you. Yeah, good. I was
going to say I wouldn't want to do that, but
if I didn't get out of here, until at least Saturday of the Masters, I would flip out. I need to watch all 4 days. I just want to be able to have freedom. I need to get out of here. I need to get out of the Sheraton.
Yeah.
That's the last thing I'll say about anything. Please let me out.
I get out in 2 days. Absolutely agree. I'm okay, it's fun. I'm having a good time, but at the end of the day,
you have your friends. You have your friends.
I do. Absolutely.
They all have COVID.
That's also true. But at least I would like to go out and kind of walk around for a while. I can walk around for 15, 20 minutes a day and have freaking thing on. I can't go to a restaurant right now. I love sitting down in a restaurant and eating because there's great restaurants on Kirkwood. But for now, it's just I'm stuck in my room. Stuck in my apartment. It's been fun.
Yeah.
But Bryce, thank you for joining me today. This has been another episode of the B&E podcast. We'll see you all next week for some NBA.
'Cause I'm better off on my own. Oh, save your soul. You don't wanna go away.